from Currambang in South Wales, close to Newcastle. And I'm on the Shanti mission, maybe one of the original Shanti missions in Harmony Center. And I'm with Bhavani Ma, so let's say hi to her.
Hello. Hello, Richard, and hello to all your listeners and viewers. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Something is so organized and so clean when I'm in any of the Shanti homes or Shanti centers. I mean, when people say what's in is what's out, like look in somebody's closet and you'll see what they're like. I mean, everything is so pristine, perfect around here. You must be very pure-hearted.
I'm very honoured and blessed to have found my Satguru here. And before we begin today, if it's okay with you, I'd like to invoke and call in the energy of Shakti Durga and to guide us and guide me through this interview, if that's okay with you.
I think it's a great idea, and by the way, we're in a temple or in a room that Shakti Durga frequents often.
We are. This is Shakti Durga's temple, and we're here in Currambang, and this is the, as you mentioned, Richard, this is the original site of the Shanti mission, and there are now centres all over Australia, but this is the original, and this is our home base, and this is Shakti Durga's home base. She lives down the road, as do I.
Thank you, Bhavani.
So, I'd like to call on Supreme God, Divine Father and Divine Mother. I call on all the rishis and saints and sages who love us unconditionally. I call on the indigenous people of this area who welcome us and guide us with their traditions. I call on Shakti Durga, Om Shakti Durga, Om Shakti Durga, Om Shakti Durga. I call on her Guru, Parameshwari, Om Parameshwari. I call on all the senior disciples of Parameshwari who have mastered life on earth and have returned to guide us to anchor the golden age of peace. I call on the senior disciples of Shakti Durga who also guide us to anchor the golden age of peace. Gayatri Kamendanu, Savator Damvandre, Shiva Katajuta, Beloved Parvati Ma, Maitreya, Jagatambe, Anandaneti and Ganga. Thank you for being here and guiding us with divine light, divine love, inspiration, and the energy of Saraswati, the wisdom and beauty of all the arts. And I call on the souls and divine selves of Richard and Bhavani Ma. May this be a joyous and wondrous event, and may we enjoy one another's company. Through the grace of God, so be it.
Thank you, Bhavani. It's so strange that sounds which are words, words which are intentions and images, can actually have this power. And without a belief that somebody's intervening, yet something is felt.
The energy is all one, be it spoken or heard, or seen or not seen. It is all one. We are all one, and our connection is unconditional love and joy and happiness. I can see that in your heart, and I can see that in your energy field, and it's very beautiful.
So a name is here, Shanti mission.
It is.
Whatever mission could mean several things, I suppose. Shanti means peace, as I understand it. Mm-hmm. Mission, Rabindranath here has a mission. It must have a mission because it keeps repeating a certain pattern.
Mm. Our mission is to anchor the golden age of peace and to be a spiritual centre which is multi-faith and broad and welcomes all. So all religions, all faiths are welcome here. All people with all gurus or none are welcome here to celebrate their spirituality, and for people who are looking for something more, something that may be missing in their life, and to have the opportunity to be in a soul community where people nurture one another and support one another, and look and provide an environment where we can find the God in ourselves. That's the aim of Shanti Mission for me.
There's so many motivations. You know, you spoke of feeling something's missing. That's a motivation.
In my life, certainly, I've always felt to be a spiritual person. I was raised as a Roman Catholic, and found I loved the ritual of Catholicism, but found the structures and the practices I didn't connect with in terms of my heart, didn't quite connect to it. So there was something missing, and you know, in my teenage years I moved away from that, but always felt a strong spiritual connection. More recently, in the last 20 years or so, I joined the City Yoga Foundation and found spiritual guidance with Guru Mai, and in that community, and very much enjoyed being in that community for around 15 or 16 years. Then my partner and I came across Sai Ma, and who's located in Crestone in the United States, in Colorado, and so we joined her organisation and found that very rewarding as well. Having a guru and a spiritual community that are located halfway around the world, be it in India or be it in the United States, has its benefits and its challenges. Very beautiful countries to visit, but the challenges are connecting physically with that community, if you're lucky, once every couple of years or once a year. Is a challenge, and so we then heard, we loved chanting, which we did every Friday night around the corner from where we lived in Hurlston Park from the City Yoga Ashram, and we heard that there was a group down the road in Camperdown, so we went there one Friday night and were introduced to Shanti Mission by, as he was then, Paul Wilde, who is now Salvatore, the spiritual leader of Canyon Lee and Canberra, who you'll meet in the next few days. And playing there was Ashley Turner, Shankara, and Chad Humphreys, Maitreya. And so we were introduced to a beautiful evening of music and kirtan. And at the end of the evening, Salvatore then said, we're running a course. We run courses as well for personal development and spiritual development on the next weekend, and all here are welcome. All courses and activities in Shanti Mission are run by donation, so you know, come along and contribute to it as the value you receive from it. And we were very happy to do that, so we went along the next weekend, my partner and I, to it was Ignite Your Spirit 1, which is the first course in the Path of Ease and Grace that Shakti Durga runs. And from there we fell in love, felt at home, and found that we, after being on a spiritual path for nearly 20 years all around the world, found our Satguru lived down the road. So it was a great amazement to us, and we've just been delighted to be involved in Shanti Mission ever since.
Wow. Sometimes I used to think, well, what's the point of talking to so many people? And I thought, well, listeners can discover that it is just down the road. Something is close by you. Go out and check it out if you feel to. So.
Yeah, so it's been a great joy to us, and through that, the unfolding and greater recognition that emptiness that I spoke of earlier was really just an emptiness in myself, that I hadn't realized that God and the true connectedness is not something for me to find externally and outside, but it really resides in my heart. And so I can be here, I can be in Chicago, or I can be, in Denver, or I can, be in Rishikesh or wherever. It doesn't matter, because it's really in my heart that I need to go to, and to connect with my Guru and feel that love and that joy and that contentment that comes from knowing that everything that I need resides within myself. So that emptiness has and void I've been able to fill through my learning and my connectedness with Shakti Durga. That was her great gift to me.
Sometimes we say everybody knows home or must know home, because otherwise why would they yearn or feel separate or feel something's missing? But it's even logical, really, because so much is talked about. You spoke of a Catholic background. So many great things are talked about, but then where are those links? They seem so obscure, the linkages that make that a real part of life. And so then even logically it seems like the real meat of it, the real meat is missing, And so then we can get into a lot of personal suffering too, from other parts of our life. And then be searching to resolve that. I think that's a way a lot of people come to maybe stumble upon further possibilities, different possibilities.
I feel that's one of the great benefits of the Shanti Mission and the courses that Shakti Durga has written, because they have guided me to clear a lot of those blockages and debris and energy which I'd hung on to, certainly in this lifetime for decades, and perhaps other lifetimes as well, and got caught up in replaying those and those patterns in how I thought about myself and how I thought about and judged and dealt with other people. And so in doing the Path of Ease and Grace and moving forward to doing practitioner training for a year, I've been able to be guided by the teachers in the school to clear a number of those things and feel that I don't need to run those patterns anymore, and so I can be more connected and more aware of who I really am, rather than who I thought I might have been, or a pattern or a profile or a persona that I felt that I needed to run.
And I needed to run like who I thought I wanted to be.
Oh, even unconsciously, unaware that it was a pattern that in a certain situation that's what I would do. And so it's allowed me through doing those courses and the releases and the learnings and the guidance of Shakti Durga to become not only more of who I am. I've got a long way to go on the spiritual path, but being more aware of who I am and being more connected to my authentic self, rather than feeling that I have this mask or that mask, or in this situation I'll have to handle it in that way. So it's been a very profound journey over the last 3 years or so to be much more connected to who I am and to my belief in myself and my spiritual connection. So it's a very interesting journey, isn't it?
We search for guidance in many fields, and this is no exception. And then some of that guidance comes as a reminder that maybe we don't need any guidance. Somehow, if we firmly believe we do, it's hard to place that somewhere in our life, and hard to, so then it comes to having guidance, and many are into meditation and prana practices and energy practices and but somehow these things are most often interpreted as going somewhere, getting somewhere that we want to be, and we will want to be, or that we'll enjoy when we get there. And so then it's not much different than any normal mundane postponement, at least at first in our own minds. Maybe it leads to some breakdown of those contexts. But it's hard, I can't really wait to get more involved and see what we're talking about here, because it's hard probably for a lot of us out that are listening to these broadcasts to think that you can take a course, especially when you call it a course, and you think, oh my God, I took so many courses. How could it really change anything? And then sometimes when you say release, I don't know, I have a feeling that somebody is releasing us, or somebody's releasing in front of us, or somebody's guiding us in a release. We call it maybe energetic because it's something that is more reflected, or more some synchronicity that happens when we're together. We talked about the benefits of the community, or being with a guru or a leader or someone that can set the tone, and that I use the word reflection, but I guess we also use other words that mean just being in sync, just being in the reverberation. And it's very interesting that somehow everyone I'm meeting here seems very complete in a way, and very in their own power center. Power I don't mean as something extra, like a power, but I don't know how to say that. They're not out of their naturalness. They're not knocked out of their naturalness. They're just in their natural satisfaction, let's call it. And that's really comforting and comfortable to be with, and it feels like, of course I reflect their openness, and I don't feel any need to have caution or like have a little fence there that I peek over, and say, what's out there? What are you guys doing? Is it okay for me to be here? Barriers, I don't feel any barriers. And you said every religion and every kind of people, and with gurus and without, and with other gurus, but really just everyone. Nobody has really a guru or a religion, or we're just our essence, and so all essences are totally welcome and totally loved and totally connected with. So
it is. It's fascinating the power, I think, in our community, certainly in Australia, and I think also true in the United States, is an issue that scares a lot of people and can be fearful and can be disconnecting. So it's something you may feel you're not connected to, be it government or be it different groups or so, and so it can be alienating as a concept. Here we are trained to be connected through energy work and prana work, as you mentioned, and active meditation, to be clearing our energy bodies and to look at our chakras and to be cleaning those up. And our center, in terms of our navel chakra, is where our power is held, and that's our internal power. And so we're trained to be comfortable in sitting in our own power as who we are, and not in a situation where we're giving our power away to other people or places or things, and therefore disconnecting from that. And when that occurs, I think that alienation and separateness is what happens with people. So we can, again, through the training and energy work and releases and meditation that we do, we can clear any blockages that are being held in our chakras, including our navel chakra, and be able to then to feel more connected and more centered. And that may be what you're feeling and seeing in relation to that. But I'd like, if I could, to talk a little about the point you were raising just now, Richard, and that's for me is why am I here? Why am I with Shakti Durga? Why is there a value for me in the guru tradition? And that certainly is the guru-disciple relationship, and something that I've read about for many decades and thought about, and is a central tenet in this school. And Guru Shakti Durga speaks regularly, as do a number of other gurus in the school, that it's about anyone can go along their own path and seek their own enlightenment or seek their spiritual development, and do that themselves and make great progress within their lifetime or over lifetimes in how they move along their spiritual path and their journey. If you are find your guru, and if you are blessed and graced to have a living guru, as we do here, then the path and the journey along your spiritual path is not only accelerated, but it is guided and supported. And so when you strike boulders or issues or situations in your life where, if you're traveling this path alone, might cause you to stumble or fall, or feel alone, or just struggle with them for a period of time, when you are in a soul community such as Shanti Mission, then you have the support of people within the community and of the gurus and of Shakti Durga to clear that quite quickly. And so that connectedness and being alone is dealt with quickly, and it can move along the spiritual path whatever your path is, and as you were saying, a spiritual path for us is not a linear one from A to B. It may well be, as in my case, it would have been nice, I sometimes think, if I'd have, known 30 years ago or 40 years ago that Shakti Durga was my Satguru and she lived down the road, and all I had to do was to go down there and turn up to the centre. It didn't exist then, but metaphorically, to do that, and I would be in a,
Just ring her up.
Absolutely. Hey, Kim Fraser, can I come over and have a cup of tea? But at that time she was still a barrister. So, it's not a linear path, but I've come to realise that in that journey there was great value in me spending time with Siddha Yoga and spending time with Guru Mai and learning of spiritual practices and traditions, and being able to gain that knowledge, experience, and of being involved in seva in Siddha Yoga for many years. And with Guru Mai, and similarly in then different things that I learned from the period of time in being with in Saima, so that by the time I turned up at Camperdown 3 years ago, then there was a richness and a tapestry in my spiritual development that allowed me to be, I think, more aware, and within, I suppose, days or weeks of meeting senior people within the school, and then meeting Shakti Durga and meeting Parvati Ma, who is my guru, to realise instantly that I was home and that this was where I was always meant to be, and my heart just expanded, and it's a knowing. It's not something like, well, how do you know? You just do. It's not. It was completely different from any experience I'd had before, and so the richness and the nurturing and the support, knowing that Parvati Ma and Shakti Durga have really always been there. Whether they're here or they're in Melbourne, or Shakti Durga is currently in New Zealand. Doesn't matter physically where they are. They're always, above me and below me, and to my right and to my left, and in front of me and behind me. And so, if I need their support and guidance, all I need to do is to call on them and merge my heart with theirs, and the guidance is there. And that's the richness of for me, the guru-disciple relationship, which allows me to travel along the spiritual path with a lot more comfort and grace, and also no fear. My fears have, over that period of time, fallen away. It's not to say they don't arise, they do, but now, instead of kind of clamming up and going, oh my God, like as you were saying, in this situation, I go, interesting, what is this about? And knowing that I have in fact created this, and fears are fascinating things, because they're really what guard the door to more love. And so if a fear has come up where previously I might be kind of clammed up and kind of very tight and reserved, now I'm much more aware that there's something in me that it's time to examine and look at and see what do I do with this. I might do nothing. I might have an opportunity to clear it as an energetic blockage. It may be an awareness that I hadn't had before, that I learned something from, and I can take the learning and the fear can drop away without being able to repel it or say, make a judgment that it's bad or it's good. It just is. And then I can welcome that and move forward. So it's a very different paradigm and journey than what I've had before, as a result of the learnings and the teachings that Shakti Durga has given us, and by having her and Parvati Ma, in my case, in my life to guide me as my gurus. So that's how it is for me.
Well, you're definitely a bhakti, a very soft and loving and receiving person. And we all feel that, all of us listening. And maybe a question that comes up, a lot of things are said about the guru-disciple relationship. So there's a great tradition, a great history, and a great lore, and you've imbibed in several centers. And perhaps parts of those things were emphasized more, and parts were emphasized less as you travel through these different experiences. Mm. And then somehow I hold it that the ultimate truth is really simple, even more simple than we think it is. So therefore a lot of these said things or these pointings or these noticings really maybe aren't there at all, or at least I wonder if some of the things that traditionally are in the guru-disciple relationship have been simplified here and just gone straight for whatever, straight for the heart or straight without any necessity of, I guess it's fun, rituals and things. But in a way, if we're tied to all those, then we're dependent on our capacity to enact these practices and rituals and honoring.
For me, it's more the opportunity to have a guide. So Parvati Ma and Shakti Durga are my spiritual guides, and so they allow me to feel a nurturing and a comfort, and they're my mirror, you know. So what I think the experience of others is that we can admire and love in other people qualities and skills and experience and virtues, but not see them in ourselves. And what this school, in its Shakti Durga's teachings, have allowed me to realize is that anything that I see in someone else is in me. And that's everything. And, you know, it's the good, the blissful, the bad, the ugly, without judgment. All of those things are me. And so the guru-disciple relationship in our school is not a one-up, one-down, I bow at your feet and honour you, but, you know, it's not me. It is in fact a true reflection that we are all one, and the guru-disciple relationship is to know that this person is someone who, like me, is on the spiritual path, but, you know, 5 or 10 or 50 or 100 steps ahead, on the same path as myself, and so can guide me to know this is a little boulder, this is a great big boulder, you can step around this, you can stand on top of this one. You don't need to feel crushed at all.
Right.
And so it's that kind of a relationship.
Right. Probably some of the guidance, you know, surely some of the guidance is by words and some is by example. Right. And then I would say that my guru experience was, you know, energetic and thrilling and life-changing, but it never crossed my mind that that was me, you know, not because he said that, somewhat because of the protocol. And then when people are propelled into larger and larger groupings, let's say, that some protocol has to be adopted, that's clear.
Sure.
But somehow it took it never really crossed my mind that that was going to be me, that I was on a path to, or whatever, you know. Just never crossed my. I thought, okay, this is a good entertainment, and the lore says these things take years and years, and then they got this thing called lifetimes, whatever. I don't even need to go there, but so it all just didn't seem like it was. Wasn't upset about it either, or wasn't disappointed. I just thought, oh, this is what we do now, you know. And then it wasn't until I met some more everyday teachers, ordinary people that just had some awakenings, whatever the level was. And then some of them were even speaking to other people that had ordinary awakenings, and some of them were even dividing their time, like saying, this is what awakening is, but this is how, he called it, let's say, integration, how you live it.
Sure.
And I thought, well, who's he talking to? This must be common experience, right? And that's when I really started to realize I'm in this game. This is for me. I think that's a fundamental turning point for me. And, you know, so much of the value of the community and the value of a guide is to be received, perhaps as you are, and not reacted to. Because somehow most of our relationships, we react to each other. And then we can see that movement on the outside better than we can see the movement on the inside. And so then we say, well, I'm feeling this way, right, but it's your movement that's doing it. And whatever that movement is, whether it's the government or the police force or the peace on earth or the lack of it, or the environmental degradation, or all our old ideas, which are very, very limited and very narrow, and where we've numbed out all the things we don't want and said it's easy to get rid of you guys, huh? Besides that, you deserve it. And then, and to want to go in deeper and to feel and to be connected, you know. We don't know what to do with that energy. And nobody teaches us that I know of, and maybe this is the miracle that you're speaking of, what to do with the energy that is when we're connected, you know, whether we're connected in love or whether we're connected in pain or whether we're connected in justice or injustice. And we don't know how to handle all that, so the easiest way is to blank it out and just to narrow our life and think the world is infinite and all those guys do their thing and you're responsible for yourself, and look inward, you guys, you must not be ready, you're not ready for this teaching. There's so many millions of ways, and even spiritual ways. Even things like karma, say I have good karma but you have bad karma, so be it, right? And all these are separate walls and excuses to just stand alone and to create myself, and, you know, I don't know. And then there's so much talk in spirituality about ego and mind, and these things that are nothing all have these qualities and these capriciousness, you know, mind doesn't want to let go or something like that, I mean. And then we're fighting all these demons, you know, and trying to subdue the ego, or, you know, none of that seems right to me. I can't really move in that direction with me. And so to be beheld and to be observed and to be received, so that must be my method, because I'm received as someone that's loved and someone that's a curious guy, you know. But anyhow, all these videos have me in them. That's one thing, I've been in everyone. And so then I'm in a public eye, and somehow I must believe that putting my energy, the energy or the attention of people on what I'm doing is just dissolving what's here. And golly, I think it's working.
It's a very beautiful thing in terms of I think, not only connecting with people, but also in through your work in being able to share that with so many people who experience your broadcast. So it's a great service, we would say a great savor, that you do in providing, that message and that connection between people. And certainly in our school, your experience with the Guru can be by being in her presence. She doesn't need to look at you or talk to you or put her hand on you in terms of a blessing, or to be doing meditation and releases with you, although all of those things happen here. The connection can and does happen by solely being in her presence, and her energy field is vast. And when you're in it, you've interviewed her. When you're in it, it's a knowing. It's not like you need to have a conversation. You can just be there. I myself could spend the rest of my life sitting at the feet of Parvati Ma or Shakti Durga and be totally content. That's all. I would be totally complete and happy. But our school is not a renunciate school. We're people who live in the world, and so we are living our teachings and our learnings and our exploring ourselves in our work with our families, and having the great opportunity to use the spiritual tools that Shakti Durga has put together and taught us to deal with those situations. And so, many years ago, I would find myself in situations either with my family or in a work situation, and I would find that people around me were angry and uptight and tense, and didn't have enough time to do this and didn't have enough time to do that, and felt I thought they were very stressed, and I felt stressed when I was in their presence, but it was them. They were the kind of people I dealt with, and I would say, if only I could take a holiday, or I could take a rest, or I could change my job, or not see my family, and then I would be okay. I would be totally relaxed, because it wasn't anything to do with me. It was them that were in that situation. And through Shakti Durga's teachings, I've learned that it may well be them, but they're a mirror of me, and it's in fact in me. And so if I pause and take the time to do the inner spiritual work with myself, to look at where is the anger in me, where is the frustration in me, where is the stress and the pressure of time in me, and release that, I found that I was not experiencing it in other people anymore, and the people I deal with now rarely are angry, rarely stressed. It's not to say it doesn't exist, but my experience of the world has changed dramatically as I have changed and done the inner work and the growth in myself. And so I think that it very much is that connectedness, that everything that happens is not an out there thing. It, as we were saying before, is it's reflected in us. And so by connecting and being who we really are, whether we know who we are now or not, and it's kind of evolving for me as to who I really am, and have some way to go, however long to go in that. It's a wonderful journey and a revelation as I go along, and so it changes a lot. But I've come to realise that there really is no difference between you and I. From a soul perspective, our physical bodies are different bodies, and throughout the world. But as we move up and look at it in terms of our connections, when we get to the point that from a soul connection, we are all one and we are all the same. We're just different flavours, you know. So as we kind of move down and then move into our physical bodies, the Bhavani Ma flavour is a different flavour to the Nataraj flavour, to the Richard flavour, to the Parvati Ma flavour, to the Salvatore flavour, you know, to my partner Bhudevi's flavour. They're slightly different flavours, but in essence, our souls know and recognise one another, and so when we come in contact, as we did when we walked into the Harmony Centre at Camperdown 3 years ago, it wasn't our physical bodies that recognised any connectedness. It was the soul connection that went, ah, we're home, hey! And we just kind of felt really, really happy and relaxed, like we'd walked in and you know, my mother had taken me in her arms and cuddled me. It was just that kind of nurturing and sense of comfort and familiarness that was there, but it wasn't a physical level. It was a soul connection that had happened, and that's what it's like for us in this school. That, you know, it's growing and growing quite largely with centres all over Australia now, but the sense of connectedness that amongst it is what we feel, and certainly what you'll experience tonight at the meditation with Parvati Ma, who's coming up from Melbourne. She was located in Newcastle and was only just before Christmas moved to Melbourne to head the Harmony Centre in Melbourne and the expansion that's happening in the community in Melbourne and Adelaide. So we're very excited to have her back in Sydney for a night, and so, you know, there'll be, I don't know, 100, 150 people who will be there and very excited to see her tonight when you arrive. So it's that connectedness that when we all get together in satsang, you know, which is the communion of like-minded souls, that we enjoy, and we then celebrate that through active meditation and also through music, because the Nada Shakti in this school, the communication of energy through music, is a very powerful healing tool that this school has developed and offers to everyone in the community and everyone who comes to our activities. So it's a great joy that we share with everybody.
Pictures painted with words have such power. So often they bind us. Those that in this world are bound, somehow are bound with pictures of words. We call them beliefs, and we can make other pictures that are kind of opposite and that denote connection, or levels, or places we're going, or happiness, or joy, and we can feel that too. So then they're kind of useful. Just to put us on an energy that may be the real creative force. It's just that energy or vibration or somehow absence of stress and anxiety and separation. You know, anxiety is in a way a separation because it means there's a risk, and we have a mechanism called our thought processes that are supposed to get us out of risk, and so then they get really active, and then our attention is focused on those more than just the joy of being together, or whatever together means. It could mean anything and everything, because it just doesn't mean anything actually. And so we celebrate that. We can celebrate that without even saying giving any qualities to it. And the beautiful moments are when we're celebrating that. And the strong ones are ones where we refrain from giving qualities. or saying this is this or this is that, because then we're somehow divided and we're thinking of something that we're imprinting an image and saying that image has, we're noticing if there's a pattern to it, and we're projecting a pattern of growth and day by day and step by step. But the real celebration are just those moments when we refrain from grasping an image. Grasping is not even that active. There's so many images that are raining on us all the time. There's always the temptation to make something out of this. And I'm just driving toward that point. We notice where we pick up one of those images. The moment we say something about this, what's happening here. There's many images that can go along with it, and we can take one. And then, I don't know, you could say the great confusion starts, but the great adventure starts of sorting and then coming free again. And what I'm saying is, if our attention is at that point and notices that pickup, where we pick up the image, that's the power. That is the power point. Really, that is the choice point in life, where we're going to go into an image anyhow because something's happening. So we're going to go into one, and then that one is going to go into another one, right? But to be there at those points of the pickup, I call it the pickup, or you could say when I got on the train, the thought train, and I decided, okay, this one I'm not going to get on. Then something comes up, I want to say it. I say, I don't need to say that. Or I don't need to a thought seems so tempting because it's such a cute thought, or it's got such a nice twist, or it kind of, even if it has to gouge a little bit, like a little satire or something like that, and you say, whoa, that's really funny, this will get him. And that's a temptation to go with it, right, and spit it back.
The interesting thing is whether those choice points are ones of things that bind us or things that separate us. And so for me, the joy in this conversation and in walking through life is to be identifying and celebrating the things in us that we share, rather than the things which keep us separate or the things that are different in what we're doing. And often we notice the points of difference. So, we might come into a room and it might be completely spick and span, but there may be, some mark on the floor or some mark on the wall, and it's that point of difference that our eye goes to and our attention goes to, and we spend quite a bit of time in that. And so from a spiritual point of view, if my life is this room and I walk into it and my attention is to the points of different, or to the points of darkness, or to the things that I don't like, or the components of it, I might immediately be compelled to go and stand in the corner of that room, and my whole focus then maybe for a minute or a month or a decade might be just seeing this room totally by standing facing that corner and only looking in that corner and looking at that component. And whereas in this school, what Shakti Durga is doing is saying that from taking that metaphor a little further, is to say you're more than that, and turn around and not only look at the rest of the room, which is in fact all you as well, but turn the light on. Because I may have been in this room and in that corner, and when I walked in the door, I didn't think to turn the light on, and so all I saw was what I could see at that point, looking with my face in the corner. And when I turn around and turn the light on, there's so much more to see.
So what's the metaphor? What's the light in the metaphor?
I think the light in the metaphor is to look more broadly than where you may be, your attention may be in that moment. And so in that moment my attention may be on something very small, but in fact the relationship that I have with myself and that I'm having with you now is much larger than that. And so to pause a little and to allow that celebration to permeate and see where that takes us. And rather than the analogy of just what I first saw, what I first paid attention to, the first thing that caught my mind, or my attention, and just exploring that a little, to do that, but also then to connect my heart with yours, and to see what we have in common and where that takes us.
Right. I think it's pretty simple, because, you said come into a clean room that had a few spots of dirt, so those spots of dirt are triggers. So then you said, okay, see the sameness instead of the differences. So then I would ask, maybe rhetorically, what are the samenesses? I don't know if there's any samenesses or any differences, because those are all things that are from our preference matrix. And even the spots of dirt are noticed because they're shocking to us. And somehow it's not the fact that we're all different. Maybe in one sense everything is different. Every moment is different. Every vibration is different. And so then the thing to notice is the preference that these things be different. Right? Not that different. It's okay to be different, right? But don't be that different, like that way. Do it like I like. And so then that level of preference, or that level of, where does that come? Is only by a separation right there, because that has to be some kind of a judgment with the encounter, right? And then when you say just notice our sameness, well, just notice that you love the diversity. I love that diversity. And that to me is the light. Because that allows us not to be in a concept or a labeling or wishing about something, and just to be in pure connection with it, in pure presence with it.
Without judgment.
Yeah.
And so my point is that for me it's a growing awareness that where previously, and I walked into that room and noticed the spots on the floor or the wall, I might judge them, and not only notice them but judge them as being bad or good. And so it's just an awareness, a different approach is an awareness that there's a spot on the floor, there's a spot on the wall, that's what it is, not that it's good or it's bad, or I need to go to the corner because I've seen there's a darkness or a familiarity there, and spend my time in that corner. It's really an awareness to say that I am much more than that. My world is much more than that. The opportunities that I have in the connection that you and I are making in this interview are much more than that if I allow myself to rest in that and be open to that, rather than to focus just in the corner. And so turning around and looking at the whole room, looking at everywhere we're going, and celebrating that is what has been presented as the gift for me for today, and to explore that with an open heart and with a genuineness in terms of that connection, which then for me allows the richness that I experience in that situation to be much greater.
I like to be kind with our machinery. So our machinery, one of our machines is our judgment machine, but it's really not separate from, it's an automatic thing, because if we have a preconception and we see something, it's always judged. I mean, that's how it works. And really then we should notice our preconceptions and where they come from, like why do and how we believe in it, that it could be reality, or how we can come to believe that it can't be different anyhow. So what's the use of, on some kind of a realm of mind projection and future, of course, things can be different. But in awareness, things can't be different. So then, when you can notice which gear you're shifted into, and then notice that there's no preconception about this moment from the gear of presence.
It may well be accurate perception, but my experience has been in my life that where I've made judgments about myself or about others or circumstances, then the effect of that was limiting upon me. And so by being aware of the impact that that's had and approaching it in a different way, I've found that it's been a transformational experience and one where it's very liberating, and the experiences that I then have when I don't place those judgments and those limitations on myself are very different.
Bhavani, do you want to tell us a little bit about the Bodhi Fest that's coming up?
I would love to, Richard. I would love to.
I understand this is going to be a real event, and it's going to be happening more and more often or periodically. So
yes.
What are we in for? What can we expect?
Well, it's a very exciting event for us in February of this year, at the end of February, so in 6 weeks almost from tomorrow. And then each February we've locked in for the next 5 years. We're running our Bodhi festival, so Shanti Mission is the major driver in presenting the Bodhi festival, and so it's 3 days of kirtan, sacred music and yoga and inspirational speakers. And so we're holding it in Newcastle, which previously in New South Wales had been and a reputation, for the last 200 years or so of Australian modern society. It was a coal town, so it was an industrial coal town. And over the last 4 or 5 years or so, the council and the government in New South Wales is kind of changing that image, and it is becoming the spiritual capital of Australia. So Shakti Durga was guided of all the locations, and we initially were looking at a different location for this, but was guided to hold our Bodhi festival in Newcastle. So we're partnering with the Newcastle Council and the community, who are very excited to have us there. We have a Harmony Centre in Newcastle, and Parvati Ma was born in Newcastle and had been running the Harmony Centre in Newcastle for over 10 years, holding the vision holding meditations that Newcastle would become the spiritual capital. So this is our inaugural event, so it's very exciting for us. We have international performers from the United States in kirtan, Jai Utal and Dave Stringer, who we have visited at the Bhakti Festival in California. Shanti Mission and Shakti Durga have performed there last year, and so we're very excited to be running our own festival here. On the yoga side, we have the Emperor of Yoga, Venkatesha, and his wife Hema, coming from Mysore in India. We have leading yogis from New Zealand, John Ogilvie, coming across, and yoga teachers and masters from within Australia as well. We have our own kirtan musicians who are here, and so we have over 50 different artists here. We have inspirational speakers. Shakti Durga will be running a 3-hour satsang on the Sunday morning. We also have Mother Claire from Colorado, who is coming from the Sophia Peace Center. She is coming here with 12 of her priests, so she's from the Catholic tradition. We have many inspirational speakers and VIPs from many different traditions, Hindu tradition, Jewish tradition coming. On the Friday evening, the festival will start with a peace procession with all of those inspirational speakers and VIPs from Newcastle and around the world and performers. Leaving from the Newcastle beach, we're starting with the beach, and an invocation from our Indigenous leaders who are involved in that as well. And then the peace procession will be led by the Peace Angels, and they are a transformational theatre company who Anand and Eddie, one of our senior disciples of Shakti Durga in the Shanti mission, has been developing over a period of 20 years or more. And there will be a procession of people in dressed as peace angels, and they'll be leading that procession with drummers, and it's about half a kilometre or so down through the centre of Newcastle to the Hunter Mall, and a great ritual, and very much involved. And we're hoping to have the churches, the local churches, bells ringing out as well as a celebration of peace. And we then come down to the Abode of Peace. We're working with the local community as well, and the Variety Club here in Newcastle will have pride of place in an area outside the Abode of Peace where disabled children will be there and participating in it as well. So it very much is a celebration of the Newcastle community that we're inviting as well to be involved in it. And then the Abode of Peace, which is the old David Jones building, which David Jones is a big department store in Australia. Perhaps like not so much Macy's, perhaps like Saks, or more like Saks probably, as a department store that people love to go to. And they have a tradition of at Christmas having the best window displays, and people would for decades would bring their children along for the window displays. So the Abode of Peace is a beautiful Art Deco building that was built in the early 1900s, and it's a 4-story building, heritage building that we're occupying for the festival. And we're calling it our spiritual department store, and so it will be opened by Shakti Durga as part of that, and the ground floor will then be a marketplace, and so there will be stalls of all descriptions and traditions. So there will be the Satchidananda Ashram who will be participating in it. There'll be people selling frankincense. There will be crystals. There'll be chai. There'll be a chai tent. There'll be clothes. There'll be psychics. There will be every description of spiritual tasting. So we're calling it our curiosity shop. So people who are part of spiritual communities will come and be familiar with some parts, and many people from Newcastle who will come, which is open to the public, will come and be able to try this or try that, or have an Ignite Your Spirit meditation and healing that we do in this school. So many, 120 stalls will be on the ground floor, and so that will be colour and movement, and the Hare Krishnas are doing food, and there will be all different food opportunities for people to partake. So there'll be great colour and movement. And then in the centre of the building, our arts community, Prema, our leader of our vision group for the arts, and all the artists in the Shanti Mission community are building a Bodhi tree, and so it will go and grow year by year. This year the base of the Bodhi tree is being built through art and light. So that's the ground floor. And then the first floor and the floors above are where you purchase your tickets, either a 2-day ticket or 1 day, Tuesday to Saturday or Sunday. And the kirtan floor is where all the international artists of kirtan will be performing. But I should say down on the marketplace level where all the stalls are, we will also have an area where a number of our local artists, kirtan artists, will be performing as well, and so that will give people a taste who've never experienced kirtan and devotional music to hear what it's like and to see, and a number of those performers are also performing upstairs, but to give people who are not sure whether they want to buy a ticket or not a chance to experience what that's about, and they may come this year or they may come next year, but it's our gift to the community to see what that's like. The kirtan floor is a magnificent floor, and the sound quality is of an international standard, and you'll appreciate that, Richard, when you hook into that. And we're very excited to have you there to do some taping, both video and sound taping of what occurs. And the atmosphere of that floor will be set by geometric laser lights, and so they are of sacred geometric shapes that are going through and flowing through the entire floor. So it will have that whole sense of majesty and wonder of a visual sense, as well as the delights of Jai Utal, of Deva Pramal and Mitan, of Dave Stringer, of Shakti Durga and the Shanti mission musicians in satsang for 3 hours on the Sunday morning. So the kirtan on Saturday and Sunday, from 8 a.m. through Saturday through until midnight, and Sunday from 8 a.m. through until 8 p.m. is going to be glorious and wonderful. And as each major act that's there for 90 minutes or so finishes, then there is a stage off to the side where we will be having people performing in the interlude, so there won't be long breaks that are in it. People can go downstairs and meet the artists, and they'll be signing their CDs, and people can purchase the CDs or get some fabulous food or a chai or a coffee or whatever they require. But if they are in the zone and just want to sit and enjoy, then they'll be entertained in the interlude, and then the next act will present. Then we move through the escalators into the next portal, and that's the yoga floor. And so at any one time throughout the day, starting from early in the morning, and we'll also be having yoga on the beach at Newcastle Beach starting at 6 a.m. and then yoga within the yoga floor. So there'll be 3 different areas operating of yoga. And that will provide people with opportunities for workshops, for demonstrations, for practicing yoga of every different kind and description that's occurring. Then the next floor is the inspirational speakers in the workshop. So Mother Claire will be there Sunday morning. She'll be offering communion at 6 a.m. To everyone who is interested. We'll have panels of speakers, we'll have workshops, and so many of the artists will be either the yoga or the kirtan will be running workshops, and so they'll be operating for a 90-minute or 2-hour period throughout the day as well. So from early in the morning until late in the evening on the Saturday and Sunday, following the magnificence of the opening procession, will be our Bodhi festival. And then each year we'll be growing it and improving it and inviting many important people to be involved. So that's our Bodhi festival, Richard.
I'm totally speechless. I know I'll have a lot of energy, but if I could be like 3 people with about 6 or 8 cameras, maybe I would be able to capture this, but I am going to broadcast a lot from here. And so then I am pretty confident that I can take a room and put it in your lap.
And we'll have over got 25 teams, 27 teams of volunteers, and over 200 volunteers, who are participating in this too, and they're offering that as their service, to the community to make this happen. And as you would well know, that the power of people offering their savour in doing something that they're passionate about just ignites the energy, and so the enthusiasm which is now building towards the Bodhi festival is palpable and joyous.
Oh, wow.
and people are just saying, bring it on, why can't it be this weekend, why can't it be this weekend?
I knew this was something I wanted to do, but I mean, I could never know really what I'm in for, like, can you imagine this
what a great time you've chosen to come, It's a celebration of peace, a celebration of unconditional love and our music and our yoga.
So we'll get a lot of the talks, because I'm a talker, we'll get a lot of music because, well, I'm learning to sing. And then yoga, I don't know if can I do yoga and film it at the same time. I don't know what. We'll see about that.
I'm a beginner in the yoga space, but I enjoy the little that I do. I do enjoy.
My yoga is hooking up wires for audio and video.
Well, you may well find in meeting Venkatesha and Hema, who is he's known as the Emperor of Yoga. Some of the poses he does and I've seen on video are truly astounding, Richard. And so while I know that in this life it's not anything I will ever be able to do, it certainly is something that I'm really looking forward to.
Something to behold, right?
It's something I'm really looking forward to behold, and to see someone whose dedication and flexibility is so magnificent.
Bhavani, you're so inspiring. I'll tell you, Bhavani Ma. Thank you so much.
I've enjoyed my time with you today, Richard. It's been a great joy, and thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to seeing you at the festival.
Okay, everybody, you heard it. I'm going to be there. And so are you. So thanks for coming today.
Namaste.